I'm a total Adolf Hitler fan, much like everyone else. I like the newer dictators, but I don't mind the classics. I don't think I've ever seen glitchy or hacked dictators before, though I don't think I want to see any after the experience I had. It started on a nice summer afternoon. I was playing Hitler Unleashed. I like how you get to explore Nazi Germany in it, until I noticed out of my peripheral vision that the mailman had arrived and put something in my mailbox as usual and left. I paused my game to go see what I got in the mail. The only thing in the mailbox was a CD case for computers and a note. I took it inside. I looked at the note first and realised it was from my dear friend Stalin, let's just call him that, whom I hadn't heard from in 200 million seconds. I know that because I recognised his handwriting, though what was weird is how it smelled. It looked how the colour blue tastes. Badly written and scratchy and somewhat difficult to fap to, as if Stalin was having a hard time writing it down, whilst Gaddafi hits him on the head with a trout and did it in a hurry. This is what he wrote. This is what he roted. Okay, this is what he roted. Toph? I can't take it anymore. I had to get rid of this thing somehow before it was too late, and I was hoping you'd do it for me. I can't do it. He's after me, and if you don't destroy this CD, he'll come after you too. He's too fast for me. Please, Saf, destroy this Azula Forsaken disc before he comes after you too. It's too late for me. Destroy the disc and you'll destroy him, but do it quick, otherwise he'll catch you. Don't even play the game, it's what he wants. Just destroy it. Please. Stalin. Well, that was certainly weird. Even though Stalin is my best friend and I haven't seen him in 20 seconds, I didn't do what he asked him. Okay, I think that should be he asked me, but I didn't think that a simple gaming disc would do anything bad to him. After all, it's just a game, right? Girl, was I wrong about that? Anyway, I looked at the disc and it looks like any ordinary computer CDR floppy disk, except it had black marker on it written Hitler.exe, and it was much unlike Stalin or Gaddafi's handwriting, meaning that he must have gotten it from someone else, like a pawn shop or eBay. When I saw Hitler on the writing of the CD, I was actually aroused and wanted to play it, since I'm a big Hitler fan. I went up to my room and turned on my book and turned on my book and put the disc in and installed the game. When the title screen popped up, I noticed that it was the first Hitler game. I was like, awesome. Because like I said earlier, I like the classics. Yeah, I didn't have the first game. This story makes no sense. Then again, I'm a 12-year-old blind girl. How the fuck can I even see all of this? Anyways, the first thing I noticed was that out of nowhere, when I pressed start, there was a split second when I saw the title image turned into something much different, something that I now consider totally and utterly sexy beyond any form of comprehension. Seriously, imagine the sexiest thing you've ever saw. I can guarantee that this was 10,001 times sexier than that, before cutting to turquoise. I remember what the image looked like in that split second before the game cut to turquoise. The sky had darkened, then brightened, then darkened again, but not quite as much as before. The title swastika was cum-soaked and upside down. The Fagel 941 was now instead Feagle 69, and the water had turned white like semen, except it looked super ultra mega hyper realistic. But the sexiest thing that was in that split second frame was Hitler. His eyes were pitch turquoise and bleeding with two glowing pink slots staring right in me, and his moustache had stretched wider up to the edge of his face. I was rather intoxicated about that image when I saw it, though I figured that it was just a troll and remembered about it. Okay, after it cut to turquoise, of course, it stayed like that for about 10 years or so, and then another weird thing happened. The save file select from Hitler.exe popped up, and I was like, what the fuck, Zomg 1111, what's this doing in the first Hitler game? Anyway, then I noticed something off. The background was the dark cloudy sky of the bad North Korea level from Hitler CD, and there were only 3 save files. The music was that creepy Lavender Town music from Pokemon, only it was extended and seemed to have been in reverse. This creepypasta has every cliche in the book, so why not? And the image for the save file, where you see a preview of the level you're on, is just Technicolor static for all 3 files. What freaked me out more was the character select. It showed only Joseph Goebbels, Hermann Faglin, and to my surprise, Kim Jong-un. Now, I was sure that something was up. I mean, how can you play as Kim Jong-un in a classic Hitler game, for crying out loud? That's when I realised that this wasn't just a sexy game. It was the sexiest game alive. Yeah, it definitely looked sexy. It was really creepy, but as a smart retard gamer, I wasn't scared, or at least I tried to be. I told myself that it was just a sexy game, and there's nothing wrong with that. Anyways, shaking off the creeped out feeling, I picked file 1 and chose Goebbels, and when I selected and got started, the game froze to about 500,000 centuries, and I heard a creepy pixelated laugh that sounded an awful lot like that Ozai guy from Fire Lord Ozai Adventure 2012 Rape Fantasy Extreme Cream Feet Azula Tylee and May, before cutting to every colour in the universe at the same time. Oh boy. The screen stayed transparent for about 10 nanoseconds or more. Then it showed the typical level title thing, except the simplistic shapes were 50 Shades of Grey, and the text showed only Heil Act 1. The screen faded in and the level title vanished, revealing Goebbels in the green Heil zone from Hitler 1. The music was different though. It sounded like a peaceful melody in reverse. Anyway, I started playing and had Goebbels start running like you would in any of the classic Hitler games. What was odd was that Goebbels was running along the level, there was no ground, and a few seals for 5 minutes. Goebbels was breaking the laws of physics. That was when the peaceful music started to lower down into slow, deep tones very slowly as I kept going. I suddenly saw something and I stopped to see what it was. It was one of the Nazi soldiers lying dead on the ground, bleeding. That was when the music started to slow down. Goebbels had a shocked and saddened look on his face that I never saw him have before, so I had him move along, and he kept that worried look on his face. As he kept moving, I saw more dead Nazis. As Goebbels moved past them, looking more and more worried, as the music lowers and he moves past more dead Nazis, I was shocked to see how they all died. They looked like somebody killed them in rather sexy ways. A soldier was hanged on a tree with what appeared to be his balls hanging out. One had all 4 of his limbs torn off and shoved up his anus, and worst of all, one soldier had his clothes taken off and put back on inside out. I felt sick to my stomach when I saw this massacre, and apparently so did Goebbels. After a few more seconds there were no more Nazis, and the music seemed to have stopped. I still kept Goebbels to continue, 'cause fuck him. After a minute passed, after the music stopped, Goebbels was running up a wall that wasn't there, and looked hyper-realistic, and then he stopped. It wasn't until I saw why. Hitler was there on the other side of the screen with his back against Goebbels with his eyes closed. Goebbels looked happy to see Hitler, but then his smile faltered, obviously noticing that Hitler wasn't responding to him, if not acting as if he was totally oblivious of Goebbels' presence. Goebbels walked slowly towards Hitler, and I noticed that I wasn't even moving my pencil to make him move, so this had to have been a cutscene. Suddenly I began to have a growing feel of being back in the hood. As Goebbels walked closer to Hitler to get his attention, I felt that Goebbels was in danger of rape, and something bad was going to happen. I heard faint static growing louder as Goebbels was but inches away from Hitler, and stopped and stuck his hand out to touch him. That foreboding feeling in my gut was growing stronger, and I felt the urge to tell Goebbels to get away from Hitler as the static grew louder. Suddenly, in a split second, I saw Hitler's eyes open, and they were turquoise with those pink glowing dots, just like that title image, though there wasn't a smile. When that happened, the screen turned pink, and the static sound was off. It stayed pink for about 0.00000000000000000000000000000000001 seconds. And then white text appeared, forming a message saying, "Hello, do you want to have sex with me?" At this point I was creeped out. I didn't want to continue with the game, but my curiosity got the better of me when I was taken to a different level with the level title now saying Hide and Rape. This time I was in the Asshole Island level from Hitler 3 Erotic Edition, and it looked like everything was on LSD. Goebbels looked as though he was scared out of his tits this time. He actually looked at me and made frantic gestures to me as if he wanted to GTFO off the area he was in as slowly as impossible. As slowly as impossible. That's actually what it says. I was starting to get freaked out by this. I mean, Goebbels was actually breaking the three-dimensional rift, trying to tell me to give him tits or GTFO off there. So I pressed down on the arrow ANG key as hard as I could and made him run as with the swiftest slowness that he could. A pixelated version of that creepy theme when you meet Azula, I don't know how to pronounce that, at the strip club as Kim Jong-un from HA2 was playing as I made Hitler trek through the desolate forest of anuses raining shit everywhere, trying to help him escape from whatever he was trying to run from. Suddenly I heard that creepy noise again, that awful cereal noise, like Rice Krispies after you pour in the milk. Right after 1 second have passed as I helped Goebbels run through the forest, and then I started seeing flashes of Hitler popping everywhere on the screen, again with those turquoise and pink eyes, while screaming a pixelated Featherline, sorry, whatever, it's all in capitals. The music changed to that ludicrous "Move Bitch" as I see Hitler behind Goebbels slowly gaining up on him, flying. Hitler wasn't running, he was actually flying. The flying pose his sprite was making looked very similar to Rubber Hitler's flying pose in Hitler CD, except it was just Hitler, and he had the turquoise and pink eyes again, only this time he had the most aroused looking grin on his face. He looked as though he was enjoying the torment he was giving the poor little minister of propaganda as he gained up on him. Suddenly, when Goebbels tripped, another cutscene, the music stopped and Hitler vanished. Goebbels laid there and started crying for 15,000 weeks. The scene was rather upsetting to watch, and I kind of teared up myself. I was so upset that I nearly cut my wrists and contemplated suicide. Poor 16-bit Goebbels, why? What kind of cruel world do we live in? Everything is just awful. I can't go on. I can't. It's too much. The pain. Oh, the pain. Oh, woe is me. Toth then became an emo and developed a heroin addiction, but then Hitler appeared right in front of Goebbels, and Goebbels smiled in horror. Fanta started to come down, those turquoise-and eyes of Hitler's, as a pedo grin slowly grew from his face. As he looked down at the horrified Minister of Propaganda, I could do nothing but watch and fap. Just in a split second, Hitler lunged at Goebbels right before the screen went pink and sexy music played. There was a loud screeching noise that only lasted 5 nanoseconds. The text returned only this time. It said, "You're too sexy. Wanna try again?" And then that god-awful as I laugh and the cereal noise came with it. I was so shocked by what had happened. Did Hitler rape Goebbels? No, he couldn't have. He looks like Skeletor, right? Why did Hitler do that to him? I shook the shock off as I was brought back to the character select. The save file that had Goebbels was different. Goebbels was no longer in the box itself, but the TV screen itself, which was flickering with that multicolour static. Goebbels' expression scared me and I committed suicide, but was brought back by the Dragon Balls to continue this game and this god-awful story. His eyes were blue and filled with peanuts, his yellow uniform was now cum-stained white, and he had an expression of drunkenness on his face, which I'm surprised I could make out considering it was in 16-bit, and the small fact that I'm fucking blind. Trying to ignore it, I picked fucking Featherline next. The laugh came again and the screen cut to orange again and stayed there for another 10 nanoseconds. This time the level said, Featherline, Featherline, Featherline. I was really freaked out by now. I couldn't really tell if this was a porno or a hentai or some kind of creepypasta game or anything really. But despite my fear of what happened next, I kept playing because I'm a dumbass and also a masochist. The next level looked much different. It had the ground of the crap Brian zone, but the sky background looked like the main menu. It had the dark yellowish cloudy sky, but it was the music that creeped me out the most. It sounded like Psy's theme right after you beat YOLO McSwaggin in Metallica vs Bieber 3013. I also noticed that Featherline looked aroused just like Goebbels did, though not as much. More rather he looked a little turn on. What? He was obviously a harder man to please than Goebbels. He broke the three-dimensional rift just like Goebbels and looked as if he wasn't sure about going on, but I made him move anyway, 'cause fuck him. I feel like I've been here before. Have I been here before? He ran down the bent, straight pathway in this colourful monochrome... Oh, seriously. Story, stop doing that. Level. And as he did, the screen started to flicker magenta static a couple times, and then that maddening fart from Hitler and the fart Führer came again, even though this is the first time I've mentioned it. Then after a few seconds of running I noticed several jizz stains on the metallic ground. Felt a growing sense of fear and arousal again, thinking something horribly sexy is going to happen to me in Featherline. He looked nauseated walking down the jizz-stained road, but I still kept going. 'Cause fuck him. Okay, I am having the weirdest case of deja vu right now. Suddenly, as Featherline ran, Hitler appeared right in front of him with those turquoise and pink eyes, and then multicoloured static appeared again. But when the static vanished, showing nothing but brown screen with text saying, "Sorry about this, but my caps lock key is busted, so I won't be typing out any threatening messages until the problem is fixed, as you probably won't take me seriously if I type in this ridiculous fashion." I was now scared shitless. What if the caps lock key on my computer breaks and forces me to type out the rest of his story like that? Also, Hitler found Featherline already? What the fuck was going on? Anyway, brown static came again, and then I was back to the level. Featherline looked like he was panicking, and Hitler was nowhere to be found, and this time that high-pitched squealing from the Himmler Hill's final boss, the Himdog, was playing. Was this some kind of boss battle with Hitler? I hope to God it was, honestly. Suddenly, Hitler appeared right behind Featherline in what appeared to be a pixelated black man's cock. I made Featherline turn and then punch Hitler and his cock. But Hitler vanished in black pixelated jizz before I could even land a hit. That terrible serial noise went off again. Then Hitler appeared behind Featherline again, and then I made him punch him again, and Hitler vanished again, laughing. Featherline was panicking even more, and even I felt like I was going crazy. Hitler was committing antics on Featherline, the most legendary antic master of them all. He was playing a sick, twisted little antic on me and Featherline. Another cutscene played as Featherline fell to his knees and clutched his head, sobbing. I felt his agony and cut my wrists. Hitler was actually trolling us both. and then in a split second Hitler lunged at Featherline and the screen went pink with more erotic music that lasted for at least 1 second. Another text message appeared. So many bitches to rape with, so little time, would you agree? This is a rhetorical question, by the way. I'm just testing to see if my caps lock button is working now. What the hell? Just what is going on? I started to think Hitler was actually trying to talk me into rape, but I was too scared to think that, even though I just stated that I started to think that. Okay, you know what, I'm going to try and stop pointing out all the flaws in this shitty story. It will be over much faster that way. God. I was brought back to the main menu, and this time the second file box had Featherline on the TV screen. His grey uniform had darkened to a greyish grey. His hair was dripping with Fanta, and his eyes were orange, and filler with Fanta too. And he had a look of sadness on his face. I began to think that those are the actual characters trapped in those TV screens on those save files, but I couldn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. So I shut off the game and took a break. I took a nap. I'm glad I did, because then I began to have the most sexy nightmare. I was in pitch black whiteness, though I was under the light given off by a lamp that hung high above my head. I could hear the cries of Featherline and Goebbels nearby. They were saying stuff like, "Help us," and "Why did you give us to him?" and "Run away before he rapes you too." Their cries died out as I heard Hitler laugh. His laugh, it sounded a lot like the distorted Ozai laugh. "You're a lot of fun to rape, kid, just like your friend Stalin, though he didn't last long." I was scared and looking around for the source of the voice. "Won't be long now until you join him and all my other friends." I saw him walking towards me, flickering in and out in several directions. "You can't run, kid. You're in my fanfic now, just like the others." When he grabbed me and I saw his cola-filled, turquoise and pink-eyed grinning face, I woke up with a fright and I felt wet. I felt wet. After a couple of hours I decided to continue playing the game. I don't know why. Well, actually I do. It's because I'm stupid and a masochist. But I had to know. I had to figure out why this was happening. So I turned on the computer, turned on the game, and selected Kim Jong-un next. I still thought that was wacky, playing as Kim Jong-un, but anyway, the level title appeared again, and this time it said, "Rape?" Which I honestly didn't find particularly surprising, considering everything else in the game has been about rape. This time I was in some kind of Segway. Didn't really look like it was from any of the classic Hitler games, though it had a pixelated style. The floor was shiny and checkered, the walls were dark greyish purple with animated vibrators, and a few dark jizz stains here and there, and there was a dark white curtain hanging above on the top part of the screen. Every 12 seconds or so, that purple curtain... That purple curtain sways very slowly, but whenever you're playing the game, you can barely see it move, so it's pointless that I'm even mentioning it. The music was oddly pleasant, a piano playing a rather sad yet peaceful song, but I knew better. This was the song that played in Heil Act 1, only it wasn't in reverse. Kim Jong-un didn't look entirely nervous like Goebbels and Featherline did, but he did have a suspicious look on his face as if he was just a bit paranoid. He did a little animation while I just left him standing. He turns his head to the left and then to the right, at least twice, and then shrugs at me as if he has no idea where he was or what was going on. I don't blame him really. I don't know what the fuck's going on either, even though I was scared out of my mind about what was going to happen. I had Kim Jong-un continue onward, because fuck me. He did his usual running animation, you know, when you've beaten him at the end of a classic Hitler game and you chase him, as we continue going through the hallway. Then I stop at a long flight of scrotums leading upward. Now I was aroused. Even Kim Jong-un seemed turned on, though I pressed onward, 'cause fuck me, him and everyone else who's reading this shit. As I led Kim Jong-un down the scrotums, I noticed that the walls have gotten darker and more pinkish. The blue vibrators are now an eerie blue. Then we landed onto another Segway. This one was longer than the last one, or at least it felt like it. And then we headed up another flight of testicles down. This one was much longer. took at least one full second, and then I heard that horrid Ozai serial noise, sorry, again, and then the music slowly faded until it was quiet. As I did, the walls turned more dark white, and the vibrators were switched off. When Kim Jong-un landed on the third hallway, I noticed he now looked really turned on, though he tried to hide it. I couldn't blame him. I was turned on too. Suddenly, Hitler popped right in front of Kim Jong-un, the same way he did Featherline, and then bluish, reddish, pinkish, purplish, yellowish, brownish, whitish, greyish static. The bluish, reddish, pinkish, purplish, yellowish, brownish, whitish, greyish static lasted for about 1.5 seconds, and then it showed me a most sexually explicit image. The image showed a hypo-realistic, so not of Hitler in a bikini, and when I say hypo-realistic, I mean like he looked so unreal. It looked like it was drawn on MS Paint by a 12-year-old blind girl. His face, oh god, he had the most horrifying moustache I had ever seen, and that's saying something considering I saw that image at the start of the game. His eyes were wide and turquoise, and once again crying coke, which also looked hypo-realistic. So not realistic. And there were two small glowing pink dots in those turquoise eyes staring right in me, as if undressing me with his mind. His grin was wide and demonic. It literally stretched to the side of his face, like a thing that has a smile that stretches to the sides of its face. Except Hitler had fangs, very sharp fangs, much like the Toffee Crunch vampire's teeth, except more vicious looking, somewhat yellowish, and from the look of it, he had stains of coke and small bits of Mentos on his lips and fangs, as if he tried the Coke and Mentos challenge and failed epically. I felt as if he was going to turn me into Toffee Crunch with his Toffee Crunch lasers that shot from his eyes. I dribbled a bit there, sorry. Like he did to all of his victims. It turned me on. I stared at that sexy image for a good 30 minutes, never taking my eyes off it. I felt as if he was actually undressing me with his mind, and he liked what he saw. That face. It took just 10,000 seconds for it to etch itself into my brain for good. Then the screen flickered with bluish, reddish, pinkish, purplish, yellowish, brownish, whitish, greyish static again 3 times, and on the 3rd time I heard the Ozai serial laugh, except this time it sounded distorted and stuff. It went back to the image again, except this time there was the text again, though it was messed up. But it was pretty much one of the most sexy things I looked at since I had this game. I am Azula. It was Azula, I don't know. It was when I read that message while looking at Hitler, when it hit me, I realised right there and then that Hitler and Azula were one and the same, a monster, a pure evil, sadistic, all-powerful, nightmarish, demented monster, and I was a masochist. And all of his victims, including Goebbels, Featherline, Kim Jong-un, and possibly Stalin and Gaddafi, are just his little sex toys, and the game is his very gateway into his sex dungeon of a world, and the very bliss his victims are trapped in, and I was to be his next sex slave, yay me. Suddenly, in an actual, complete, no doubt about it, no year, no player's name, no coach, not named after the referee's pet goldfish, pure, unmistakable, unembellished, as frank as Frankenstein, as blunt as an atom bomb, simple, complete and utter fucking split second, I screamed as Hitler lunged at the screen, screeching loudly with his mouth wide open to an unnatural length, revealing nothing but a literally spiralling abyss of pure sex, before the bluish, reddish, pinkish, purplish, yellowish, brownish, whitish, greyish static came again, this time much louder and distorted, so loud that it hurt my eyes. I yelled and grabbed my ears as the bluish, reddish, pinkish, purplish, yellowish, brownish, whitish, greyish fuck you static screeched for a good 7 years. Then it stopped and showed nothing but pink screen. As I sat there staring at the blue screen, one last text came up. Ready for round 69. The Azai serial laugh, now sounding more clear, as if Hitler was right behind me, played again 3 times as I looked at that text in shock and confusion. Then I got booted back to the main menu, and this time the third save file had a TV image of Kim Jong-un in the same tormented state as Goebbels and Featherline. Kim Jong-un's skin turned a dull pink. He now had sunglasses, making him look like Psy, Gangnam Style. He had a mere blissful-like expression on his face. I looked at Goebbels, Featherline and Kim Jong-un, and I cried a bit and went through my whole emo routine again. I pitied them for the agony they're going through. They were forever trapped within the game, forever tormented by that horrid Hitler, and always will be. Then the computer shut itself off. I couldn't turn it back on, no matter what I did. I sat there for maybe 5 seconds, horrified by what had just happened. Hitler is the very embodiment of BDSM. Azula, she tortures people who play her game in more ways than one, and when she gets bored, she drags you into the game, literally drags you to BDSM hell, where she can play with you always as her sex toy. I can't get the game out of my computer. I think it's stuck in there, but at least I managed to turn it back on now. After I sat there for 250 seconds, I heard a voice right behind me like a whisper. Try to keep this interesting for me. I turned around to see where the voice came from, and what I saw made me scream. Sitting on my bed, staring right at me, was a Hitler plushie, smiling with bloodstains under its eyes. I then threw the doll away and had to buy another one on eBay, as the bloodstains from when I cut my wrists wouldn't come out. Fucking hell. Okay, that's done. I hope you... Would anyone have enjoyed that? I don't know, but it's over, so it's no longer happening because it's been read, so it's finished now. So regardless of whether you enjoyed that or not, it's now in the past, the actual reading part of it, and now this is just a prolonged outro that isn't actually hurrying itself up because I'm still talking, and I should probably